Good evening, honorable judges and everyone present here. I am Salsa and I stand here as the opposition speaker. As I stand here, I will respectfully respond to the argument presented by our previous proponent speaker on the motion that implementing work from home in all sectors for one day, whether it's 5 or 6 days, is necessary to save energy during this recent war in the Middle East. Dear honorable judges and everyone present today, before we move further into the arguments, I need you to understand the real context of this motion. The ongoing conflict in the Middle East has disrupted oil supply, especially through the Strait of Hormuz, a key route for international oil trade. As a result, oil prices rise, and countries like Indonesia, which depend on imports, face serious economic pressure. This shows that the issue we are facing is not a simple behavioral problem, but a global and structural energy crisis driven by geopolitical tensions and dependence on non-renewable energy. However, the government responds to this large-scale problem with a very limited solution: work from home. At first glance, it may seem logical, but this is exactly where the flaw lies. The government is oversimplifies the issue. They assume that reducing commuting will significantly reduce energy use, while ignoring the fact that the energy consumption also comes from industries, electricity production, and infrastructure that continue operating regardless of work from home. Therefore, I would like to emphasize again and again that this policy doesn't solve the problem. And I will now present you why. First, this policy doesn't significantly reduce national energy consumption. The government assumes that implementing one day of work from home will significantly reduce overall national energy consumption and lead to major energy savings. But here's the fact: the energy consumption doesn't disappear, it just shifts from offices to households. For example, when people stay at home, they still use air conditioning and may keep the air conditioner on all day, charge multiple devices. Why? Because that is on their own house, guys, and they have free will to do that. Then they stream content and order goods online also, which increases delivery activity and energy use in logistics. When work from home is implemented, offices may reduce electricity usage, but at the same time, millions of households simultaneously increase their energy use. Instead of one centralized building using energy efficiently, energy becomes dispersed across many individual homes. Also, when we are stay at home, we will have more free time to scrolling our social medias and found something attractive, and then we will buy it online. It causes the increase of online shopping that leads to more delivery services, which requires transportation and fuel. This creates a chain effect where energy is still consumed, just in different forms. This means the policy fails to meaningfully reduce energy demand during a crisis. In a situation where energy supply is threatened by a global conflict, ineffective policies will just waste time and delay the implementation of more impactful solutions. Second, the policy is not applicable to all sectors and create inequality. Here's the reason. The motion clearly states all sectors, but in reality, many jobs still require physical presence, such as healthcare services, and factory workers. Unlike office worker, guys, these groups cannot get benefit from work from home. For example, a nurse cannot treat patients remotely, and a factory worker cannot produce goods from home. This creates a situation where only certain groups can participate while the others are excluded. When the policy is implemented, only sectors with digital capabilities can reduce energy consumption, while the others will still continue operating as usual. This leads to uneven participation. Additionally, even within sectors like education, not all students have equal access to stable internet or a conducive learning environment, further deepening inequality. This results in unfairness and social imbalance. Some groups are able to save costs and save energy, while the others still bear the same workload without any benefit. A national policy should be inclusive, not selective. Third, this policy doesn't address the root cause of the energy crisis. Work from home fails to address the root cause of the energy crisis, which lies in structural energy dependence and mismanagement, not daily commuting alone. The government links work from home to the impact of the Middle East conflict, particularly disruption in oil supply. That's right, but however, Indonesia's dependence on imported oil and non-renewable energy sources is also the real issue. Even though Indonesia is actually known as a country that has oil resources, yet it still heavily depends on oil imports. This shows that the real problem is not consumption from daily activities, but deeper structural issues such as inefficient energy management in Indonesia and reliance on non-renewable energy. A reduction in commuting doesn't solve this structural dependency. Even if work from home reduces some fuel consumption domestically, this country will still rely on imported oil for transportation, industry, and electricity generation. At the same time, the issue of domestic oil not being fully optimized forces Indonesia to still import oil, meaning global price shocks will still affect the country. The policy has little to no effect on stabilizing national energy security or reducing vulnerability to global crisis. It just creates a false sense of action while leaving the main problem unresolved. In the long term, this delays more meaningful reforms such as transitioning to renewable energy or strengthening the domestic energy production. Structural energy reforms provide long-term stability, whereas work from home only offers a temporary and limited impact. Overall, the government's case is put on an oversimplified assumption that reducing physical movement will automatically lead to significant energy savings. As I have shown you, energy consumption is not eliminated, it just shifts from the offices to households. Furthermore, this policy only targets a limited portion of national energy use, while ignoring the much larger contributors such as industry, infrastructure, and structural dependence on imported energy. Most importantly, the government fails to address the core issues. Indonesia's vulnerability to global energy fluctuations is rooted in systemic problems, not daily commuting habits. So, instead of implementing work from home, the government should focus on targeted and structural energy policies such as first, the government must invest in strengthening domestic energy production and refining capacity so that Indonesia can reduce its dependence on imported oil despite having its own resources. Or second, the government should invest in renewable energy development to ensure a long-term sustainability. Third, the government should implement energy efficiency regulation for industries and large buildings, which consume the majority of national energy. To achieve this, the government must allocate budget for infrastructure, create incentives for clean energy investment, and enforce strict energy efficiency standards. By focusing on long-term and large-scale solutions, this country, Indonesia, can achieve real energy security rather than relying on short-term and limited policies. A real solution, guys, must go beyond surface level adjustment and focus on structural change. Energy crisis requires strong and long-term strategies, not temporary and limited measures such like work from home. With that, I firmly oppose this motion. Thank you.